There are people who, from an early age, feel that they carry something different, a weight that others do not see, a greater sensitivity, a constant restlessness, a perception that goes beyond what is visible. If you have ever felt this, know. It may be more than just a phase. It could be a sign that you are chosen. Have you ever wondered why some things seem to be more difficult for you than for others? Why certain processes in your life take so long, even when you are doing everything right? Perhaps you think it is bad luck, punishment, or that God has forgotten you. But it might be exactly the opposite. The chosen do not have common paths, because they also do not have common missions. What God plans to do through you requires preparation, requires refinement, requires resilience. And that is why you feel like you are being shaped all the time. It is a spiritual treatment that for the most part happens in silence. Many people think that being chosen is just a beautiful title. But those who carry this calling know how heavy it is. They know that there are invisible marks left by God in the process. Marks that no one sees, but that define who you are becoming. And the most impressive thing is that these marks are not random. They are clear signs. Perhaps you already carry one or more of these marks and do not even know it. Perhaps you are living exactly what God uses to separate those He wants to use. And today, I want to show you these 5 marks. Each one of them can open your eyes to the purpose that is already underway in your life. If this topic is already making your heart beat differently, follow the channel right now. Here you will understand that what you have lived was not in vain. It was the process of someone who is being prepared by God Himself for something greater. Spiritual and emotional sensitivity, you feel what others ignore. Some people are naturally more attentive, more affected by situations, more impacted by the emotions of the environment. But there is a group that goes beyond this. People who not only feel but perceive, who not only observe but discern. These people tend to be the chosen ones, and one of the most visible marks in them is spiritual and emotional sensitivity. You notice what nobody mentions. You sense in the air when something is not right, even when everyone is smiling. Your intuition is strong, but it is not merely intuition. It is as if your spirit is always picking up invisible information. The environment speaks to you, even when it is silent. This might make you seem too sensitive, even dramatic to some. But you know that is not true. It is not an exaggeration. It is a gift, a type of perception that God gave to the chosen ones so that they do not overlook the signs from heaven. It is this gift that makes you feel the pain of others, even when it is not your own. Emotional sensitivity also reveals itself in your empathy. You cannot ignore someone who is suffering. Even when you are tired, overwhelmed, you stop. You listen, you give of yourself, and often this exhausts you, because you absorb what others pour out. You carry the weight of those who do not always understand the value of your presence. This sensitivity can be tiring. There are days when everything feels like too much. A comment can deeply affect you. A cold gesture can destabilize you. You live more intensely because you feel more intensely. And this, far from being weakness, is a divine mark. God made you this way for a reason. He needed someone who would not harden over time, someone who would continue to feel, even in the face of the world's pain. Because it is through sensitive people that He extends His compassion, that He sends comfort, that He touches other hearts. And you are that bridge between heaven and the pain of the earth. Perhaps you have tried to harden yourself. You have told yourself that you needed to stop feeling so much, that you needed to create a shield, but you could not. Because this sensitivity is not something you can turn off. It is part of your calling. It is through it that God moves you, uses you, awakens you to what many ignore. This spiritual perception also manifests in your prayers. You pray deeply. You pray for details, and many times you intercede for people without even knowing why. It is as if the Spirit is urging you to cry out for someone or for something that is yet to happen. This is not a coincidence. It is sensitivity aligned with heaven. The chosen live more attentively. Their hearts beat with greater awareness. They see behind the words. They feel weight in places where others see normality. They grieve for what the world celebrates. This difference is unsettling, but it also reveals that there is something greater operating within them. If you identify with this, if you have ever felt different for feeling too much, know that this is a mark that connects you with God and with His purpose in you. Do not fight against this sensitivity. It is a tool, and in the right hands, tools transform into healing, direction, and answers. Disconnection from the material world, nothing. Here completely satisfies. Have you ever tried to get excited about things that seemed important to others, but you couldn't? Have you ever found yourself looking at everything around you and still feeling an emptiness inside? That feeling that something is missing, even when everything seems fine on paper, could be a mark of someone chosen by God. The chosen carry within themselves a thirst for something that the world does not offer. It's not that they despise life's achievements, they value what they have. But no material victory completely fills the space within their soul, because the heart of the chosen has been shaped for the eternal. You may have everything the world considers success, recognition, achievements, security, and still feel that you are not living your true purpose. This discomfort is not a lack of gratitude, it is a spiritual sign. God is showing you that you do not belong to this system, that your essence was made for another reality. While many pursue appearance, approval, and power, the chosen pursue meaning. They want to know if they are living what God called them to live. They want to hear, "I am with you," more than "you have succeeded." They want to make a difference more than to accumulate. They want to be the answer, not just the reference. It is hard to explain this to those who do not feel the same. People may think you are dissatisfied, that you are always wanting more. But what you want has no name on the shelves or number in the accounts. What you want is presence. It is fullness. It is peace. And this can only be found where God is. This disconnection from the world also protects you. It prevents you from getting lost in the crowd. It reminds you every day that you are here. But you are not from here. You are a representative of another reality. And that is why so much here does not make sense to you. You may even feel out of place sometimes, as if you are living on a different frequency. But this difference is not a mistake. It is part of your mission. The chosen were not made to conform. They were made to transform. And only those who do not settle for what is can truly transform. If what is temporary does not satisfy you, it is because you were called to seek what is eternal. And this quest is also a response to the calling that already lives within you. Constant spiritual trials. The struggle is harder for you. Have you ever wondered why things seem to be more difficult for you than for others? Why, even when you are doing everything right, do you still face so many battles, closed doors, and periods when God seems to be silent? This feeling is common among the chosen, and it carries a spiritual truth. Those who are set apart by God to live something greater also need to go through a deeper process. This is not punishment, it is preparation. The greater the purpose, the greater the treatment. God does not give large missions to unprepared hearts. He molds, cleanses, and strengthens. And often He does this through pain. The trials are not constant because God has forgotten you. On the contrary, they are frequent because He is close, taking care of every detail. He allows some battles to come because He knows you can overcome them. And each victory brings you closer to the woman or man He wants you to become. There are phases when you pray and do not feel a response, phases when everything seems to freeze. It feels like nothing is moving. But it is in this place that your faith grows. When you keep believing even without seeing, when you keep praying even without hearing anything. This kind of faith is rare, and it is what God is generating in you. Some trials are not visible. They are silent, internal. They are those battles you face inside while you keep smiling on the outside. But God sees it all. He knows the wars of your heart, the thoughts that no one understands, the effort that no one recognizes. And He honors every step you take, even when you are tired. Most people give up when the process intensifies, but the chosen continue. Even while stumbling, even while crying, even without understanding. And this persistence does not come from your strength. It comes from the grace of God that sustains you in silence. It comes from the certainty that, no matter how difficult it gets, He is still in control. Gold is tested in the fire, and the chosen are too. God does not want you to merely endure the trial. He wants you to come out of it stronger, more mature, more like Him. He wants to transform your pain into authority, your wound into a testimony, your process into a bridge to reach others. If you feel that the battles are greater than you, do not be alarmed. It is because what God has placed inside you is also greater. And each trial faced is preparation for what is to come. Feeling of not belonging. You never fit in completely. From an early age, you felt that there was something different about you. While many around you easily made friends, you always seemed to observe everything from an outsider's perspective. Even when you were among people, there was a part of you that didn't really feel present, as if you were there, but at the same time did not belong to that place. You grew up wondering why everything seemed harder to fit into. In school groups, at church, in the family, you tried to adapt. You forced a smile, held back opinions, copied behaviors. But deep down, it was as if something inside you said, "This is not who I am." And that voice would not be silenced, no matter how hard you tried to muffle it. This feeling may have caused a lot of guilt. You may have thought you were strange, that there was something wrong with your personality. But what you interpreted as a flaw was, in fact, a sign. A spiritual mark that God placed in you. The feeling of not belonging was not a failure. It was separation. Those who are chosen carry an identity that the world does not understand. And often, this spiritual identity comes into conflict with societal standards. You realize early on that you do not think like everyone else. Your questions are deeper, your pains are more intense. Your worldview always seems to go against the grain. It is not easy to carry this. Sometimes you try to ignore it. You force yourself to act like everyone else. But even so, something inside you feels uncomfortable. Your spirit is restless. Your heart tightens. And it seems that you are always searching for a place where you can simply exist as God formed you, without filters, without pretense, without disguises. This difference, as uncomfortable as it may be, is a clear mark of the chosen ones. Ordinary people can adapt to any system. But the chosen were not made to conform. They were made to create change, and no one changes the environment when they are trying to fit into it. Often, this displacement can create loneliness. You watch the people around you moving easily, being part of groups, flowing in circles that never seem to truly embrace you. But it is in this space of solitude that God finds you. He separates the chosen not to exclude them, but to prepare them. It is in solitude that He speaks, that He reveals, that He heals. And most importantly, it is in this silence that He builds your true identity. the one that does not depend on external acceptance, the one that needs no approval, the one that is born from the certainty that you were created for something greater, and that this does not require explanation for anyone. Often, those who carry this mark feel a little out of place, even in their own home. Even among family, you may have been seen as the different one. But this difference was never a weakness. It was protection. God did not allow you to blend in because the calling He placed on your life is rare and requires separation. Chosen ones are not born to hide, but they need for a time to walk in silence until they are ready to reveal what they carry. And during this time, the feeling of not belonging remains, precisely to remind you that your destiny is not to stay where everyone is, but to go where few have the courage to go. You seek depth where many are content with the shallow. You feel that there is something more when everyone says everything is fine. You feel sorrow for what the world celebrates. You notice when the environment does not match your spirit. And even if you cannot explain it, you feel. And that is real. This spiritual sensitivity keeps you connected to heaven. It reminds you that your mission is not to fit in, but to reflect God's light where few have the courage to be authentic. If you have never felt completely part of anything, do not fight against it. Embrace this mark with awareness and faith. You have been set apart, and what seemed like isolation was in fact direction. You were not made to belong to the world. You were made to belong to God, and to live as a response to Him, not as a repetition of the system. Survivor of invisible scars. You are here for a purpose. Have you ever stopped to think about everything you have faced? The situations that could have completely broken you? The moments when no one knew, but you were fighting just to keep breathing. If you survived all of this, it is not by chance. There is a clear reason why you are still standing. The chosen ones by God carry marks that are not always visible. They are emotional scars, spiritual scars, sometimes physical, but almost always silent. They do not appear in photos, but they are present every day. And as much as they hurt, they tell a story, that of someone who passed through the fire and was not consumed. Many people look at you and think that everything is fine, that you are strong, centered, resilient. But they do not know the price you paid to have that strength. They cannot imagine the nights you cried in silence, the days you thought about giving up, the moments you felt completely alone. And yet you continued. Even wounded, you loved. Even tired, you served. Even without understanding, you obeyed. And that is not a small thing. That is everything. Because only those who have a much greater purpose within them can endure such deep pains without losing faith. The scars you carry are like spiritual maps. They show where you have been, what you have conquered, what you have overcome, and more than that. They show that God has been with you at each one of these stages. He did not spare you from pain, but He sustained you within it. And that changes everything. Perhaps you have already wondered why you had to go through so much. Why your story is so marked by losses, rejections, disappointments, processes. But when you begin to see your scars as part of your calling, everything changes. What seemed like a burden becomes a mark of authority. God does not use people without marks. He raises up those who have been broken and restored by Him. Because only those who have been wounded can care for those who are wounded. Only those who have felt deep pain can have true compassion. And you know exactly what that is like. The wounds you faced were not the end. They were part of the construction. Each tear that fell became a root. And that is why today you are more steadfast. Not perfect, but real. Not without pain, but full of purpose. And the world needs people just like that. How many times have you felt forgotten by God when in fact He was taking care of you in a way that no one saw? His silence taught you to listen more. His apparent absence taught you to trust the invisible. And these experiences created in you a faith that does not depend on circumstances. Today, you may look back with pain, but also with gratitude. Because each fall taught you something, each new beginning strengthened you, and each wound brought you closer to God. He does not waste suffering. He transforms pain into testimony. And this testimony may be exactly what heals other lives. You are a survivor. You survived processes that many people would not endure. And the simple fact that you are still here, with your heart turned towards God, is already proof that there is a living purpose pulsating within you, something that hell tried to stop, but could not. If today you carry invisible scars, know this: they do not diminish your value. They increase your spiritual authority. Because each mark is a reminder that God was there. And if He was with you in the valley, He will also be in the place of honor He is preparing. If any of these marks have touched you, pay attention. If throughout this journey any of these marks have spoken to you, do not ignore them. It is not imagination. It is not exaggeration. It is not coincidence. It is heaven communicating with your soul. It is God subtly waving to you and saying, "Son, daughter, I have chosen you." And if you truly felt this, then this message has found its place. Being chosen does not mean having an easy life. In fact, almost always, it is the opposite. The path is narrow. The pain is real. The struggle is constant. But the purpose behind all of this is greater than any suffering, and understanding this completely changes the way you see yourself. Perhaps you found yourself in that first mark: spiritual and emotional sensitivity. You feel too much, absorb what others ignore, and get emotional about what no one notices. And for a long time, you thought this was a weakness. But today you understood that it is discernment, a tool that God placed in you to connect you with heaven. Or maybe you recognized yourself in the disconnection from the material world. You have already realized that nothing here completely satisfies you. The goals of the world do not fill your spirit. What drives you is purpose, not appearance. And now you know that this is also a mark, a sign that you were made for the eternal. Perhaps your life has been marked by constant spiritual trials, the feeling that everything has always been harder, that the answers take time, that God's silence seems more present than His words. But today you understood. Each struggle was preparation. And if the trial was great, it is because the calling is also great. If you have always had a feeling of not belonging, as if you were misplaced even in the most familiar environments, know this: it is not rejection, it is separation. It is God protecting your identity, showing you that you were not called to conform to the world, but to live as someone who carries a heavenly mission. And finally, if your story is marked by invisible scars, by deep pains, by silent survival, this is also a mark. The simple fact that you are still here, with faith in your heart, says a lot about who you are. God did not allow you to be destroyed. He sustained you for such a time as this. Each mark is a reminder that you have been set apart, that your life carries more meaning than the world can understand. And when you recognize these marks with courage and faith, everything begins to change. The weight becomes mission. The pain becomes testimony. The emptiness becomes direction, and the waiting becomes preparation. You may have spent your life thinking you were strange, exaggerated, too sensitive, out of place, tired. But now you know, all of this was part of the process. It was God molding you, treating you, awakening you. Because what He is going to do in you and through you requires deep roots and a firm identity. If this message touched your heart, I ask you, comment below. Say which of these marks you identify with the most. I am chosen, and I recognize my marks. Your comment could be the confirmation someone else is waiting for to not give up. And if you know someone who might be going through the same process in silence, share this message. Sometimes the right word at the right time changes everything. You are not alone. You are not here by chance. You are under construction by the hands of God Himself.